Parenting. Let's talk about parenting today. I never realized how difficult parenting was until I became a parent myself. In this episode of the English Hour, I'll talk about parenting, my experiences and observations. Of course, this is a very broad subject and there is so much to talk about, and I will try to talk about the different aspects of this topic, but feel free to join the conversation in the comments. I would love to learn your perspectives and experiences too, so we can all learn from each other. As I said, when you are a kid, when you're a teenager, when you're going to college, you don't really think about becoming a parent. At least I did not. It seems like a distant future. Like you will be a parent, you'll have kids, you'll have to take care of your kids, plan their future and their training and education. It seems all very complex and distant. Until one day you get married and you decide to have kids. One thing I realized about parenting is that once I became a parent myself, I really started appreciating my parents. I think I started developing a stronger connection, a stronger bond with my parents. Because once you're a parent, you understand how difficult everything is. And you have come to appreciate the challenges, the sacrifices that your parents have had to endure to bring you up. So, in that sense, I can definitely say that being a parent has made my relationship with my mom and dad much stronger. I now want to see them more often. I want to talk to them more often. And then another aspect of this issue is that they become grandparents. When you become a parent, of course, they become grandparents. Now, there's another human being connecting all of you. In the past, it was you and your parents, but now it's you, your kids, and your parents. And they take on a new role. And sometimes you might be jealous of the love and affection they might show towards your kids. That's an interesting bit. Of course, I'm joking. It's great to see loving parents and grandparents together with their grandchildren. Another aspect of this topic that I'd like to discuss is really the differences between having your first child and your second child. I mean, at first, you're like an amateur. It's like try and learn, or trial and learning, or learning by trial, however you might want to call it. I mean, there is no parenting class at school, so we are not really fully prepared. I mean, I think parenting, at least in a certain way, should be a part of our education system. I mean, we should learn how to take care of our kids, how to raise them, maybe how to plan for their future. It's all a big journey. So as I said, I have a daughter and a son. So my daughter was my first kid, and it was a premature birth. It was really stressful at first. I mean, imagine this, like your new parents, like my wife and I, we didn't have an idea of what to expect. And then you have this premature birth and everything becomes a bit more crazy and scary. And then, I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong. It's not just like the financial side of things, like the financial, emotional side of things. It's a very complex mix. And then as your kid grows, as your baby grows, becomes an infant and a toddler, and then starts moving around, interacting with you, that's a great feeling, for sure. But as a dad, one thing I noticed is that moms are a lot more likely to form connections faster. Like, I think there is this innate feeling, like being a mom, there's this instant connection between the baby and the mother. But I think my connection grew stronger as my daughter was able to speak and interact with me. Like, that interaction made my sort of relationship with my daughter a lot more stronger. Like, I have come to appreciate the moments we share. So that's one part of the puzzle. And again, sometimes, like when I'm a new parent, I don't feel that old. I'm like, okay, I am feeling like a very young person. Now I have a kid. How do I like interact with this kid? Like, as a parent, as a friend, like how? And these are all questions parents face every day. Sometimes you have to be very polite and kind towards your kid. Sometimes, in order to teach them a lesson, you might have to be harsh. Sometimes you have to talk a lot. Sometimes you have to stay silent in the face of unwanted behaviors. So it's a very complicated mix. And then after the first kid, once we have another kid, in this case, I have a son. Since you've been through that journey, it becomes a bit easier. I mean, you know what to expect. The challenges, the expectations, they're more clear. But still, every kid is different. Then, like, the traits, the characteristics of each kid, they're different. And it becomes another learning journey. It becomes another adventure. So, as I said, I feel like parenting is like an adventure novel in a sense. You never know what to expect. The circumstances are always changing. And then you start thinking more about the future. Like, in the past, it was about you and your partner, but now you have kids. You start thinking more about their future, the kind of world they will live in, the challenges in the future they might face. I think in my case, I started becoming more anxious. Like, I have started feeling more anxiety and stress in a sense, because I was not very happy about the direction of the world and the region we're in. And now that I have kids, I kind of have a stronger sense of anxiety. But in the end, there are much greater powers around us, and I know I can't change the world, so the best I can do is do the best I can and hope for the best. And another point to consider is, like, how do you raise like happy and successful kids? I am very glad that my wife spends a considerable amount of time researching and reading about these topics and shares her learnings and experiences with me. Unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I'm not, able to read that much. I mean, sometimes I try to read and listen to interviews, videos about parenting and raising kids, but I don't feel that's enough. So in those cases, I'm very happy that my wife does the heavy lifting in a sense. So personally, I was academically very successful as a kid. My wife is the same. And I'm like, okay, being academically gifted or successful is nice, but right now I feel like that's not the most important thing. I mean, the most important thing to me seems to be kind of be happy, be able to deal with problems, and create your own path. So it would be nice if my kids had nice grades, high grades, and a bright academic career, but I would not consider it to be an essential part of my expectations. And then another point to consider is which habits do you want to give to your kids? Like, what is important? What is not important? What should you focus on? What should you not focus on? These are all complex questions, and I'm still dealing with these questions myself. So, to me, parenting seems like one of the more difficult tasks in life. It's a great joy and a form of pure happiness in some cases, but sometimes it feels very challenging and very difficult. And I think that's the irony, because sometimes I really appreciate being with my kids, being a parent, like the pure bliss and happiness that comes with the interaction with the kids, like hugging your kids, having some fun with them, spending time as a family and enjoying yourselves. That's a great feeling. But sometimes it's very difficult, like crying kids, different problems, stress factors, and so on. So it's on the one hand a great feeling, and on the other hand, that's a great responsibility. So it's something that should be managed. Well, these are basically my ramblings about parenting. Of course, I would not consider myself to be a senior parent in the sense that I have less than a decade of experience when it comes to parenting. I'm not like my parents. I'm not like the people who have been parents for 2 or more decades. Probably my perceptions, my ideas will change over time, but this is how I feel at this moment in time. And I wanted to share these experiences with you so I can learn from you and I can relay these experiences for the future generations. Well, that's it for today, and see you in another episode of English Out.